is the punter for Fresno State. Trent Walker, the returner. So it'll be a first down here for All right, we welcome those of you that were watching Baylor and SMU on CW Football Saturday. Fresno State, Oregon State. Each team scored a touchdown on their first possession. And Anthony Hankerson, Oregon State's lead running back, over 1,000 yards a year ago. And his big burst takes the ball inside the Fresno State 40. Oregon State wearing the orange tops with white helmets and white pants. Fresno State, their main color red. Now a toss to David Wells, an attempted running play, and that's snuffed out by the Fresno State's defense. Cameron Braca on the tackle.
Here's the previous play where Hankerson just absolutely does a great job following his line. The push that he gets up front, then he uses his quickness, puts his leg in the ground, steps aside, and has a big explosive play, which is what this Oregon State football team desperately needs from offense.
Well, the Beavers lost their first game last week to Cal. They got behind early in the first half and never really recovered. Fresno State scored on the opening drive, a 30-yard run by quarterback E.J. Warner. And now the Beavers answered with a touchdown, but they've been stopped here on back-to-back run plays, and that is a familiar name for Pac-12 football fans. Corey Foreman, remember him? TFL.
Yeah, that's a big TFL. He just gets unblocked and then is able to shed the stiff arm from Hankerson. Hankerson already to the point right now where he has as many yards as he had the entire game against Cal rushing, which is a good sign for Beavers fans out there.
Corey Foreman, 3 years at USC, now in his second season at Fresno State. So it's a long third down now for the Beavers. Saladin Allah into the left of quarterback Malik Murphy. Allah stays in the block. Murphy trying the sideline, broken up. And he had David Wells breaking down the sideline against the coverage of Jakari Embry.
Yeah, it's a double move, and he gets by him. The ball's just underthrown enough where David Wells isn't able to grab it as Jakari Embry just gets his hand and knocks it away.
That looked like a touchdown.
It would have been,
yeah. The lead throw, yep.
Just a little bit behind.
All right, A.J. Windsor is the punter this year for Oregon State. Wow, well, the Beavers, this is a concern for them in the first half, as that ball will make the end zone. Oregon State's main long snapper hurt last week, and he is out. They missed the snap on an extra point attempt, and now a shaky snap on the punt. So it is 7-6 Fresno State in the first quarter. All right, first quarter stats are brought to you by Carl's Jr. Offense for both. Good third down conversions for Oregon State, but Fresno State's run defense, Ryan, got strong there in their own end of the field.
Yeah, they made a big play there on that first drive.
All right, here's our game summary, Royal Caribbean game summary. And it was E.J. Warner ending up with this, just the second run touchdown of his career, the longest run of his career, 30 yards.
Yeah, he was the story on that first drive, really managing this offense and getting them into a position to get some points.
And on the handoff, watch out. Oregon State did not have the edge covered, although there is a flag down. Rayshawn Luke with a long gain, but again, that has a bad look for Fresno State, that flag.
Anything out there on the perimeter, especially when the running back goes by, usually leads you to believe that there's going to be some sort of holding penalty.
Offense, number 84.
John Love is our referee, and wide receiver Ezekiel Avit. There it is. Whoa! And that's how Luke is able to turn the corner, and if he does, that's going to be a big play, because again, his nickname, and those who remember him from his days at Arizona, Speedy.
the thing when you're blocking there in stock blocking, if you get your hands inside, right, you get them inside on the chest plate rather than out there on the shoulder pad. That's the difference. And then, of course, anytime somebody goes by that, the official can see that blatantly clear.
So Warner looking back across the field, and he has a good gain here. That's tight end Richie Anderson. So that wipes out the penalty, gets Fresno State a first down.
You know, speaking with Josh Davis, their offensive coordinator this week, he had a very interesting take on offense, and this is a great play call. Everything looks like it's moving off to the right. The tight end even almost falls down to sell it, gets away from his defender, and is wide open to pick up the first down on that.
Yeah, Ryan, they used the running back running a wheel route to clear out the zone. So Luke is now the running back alongside E.J. Warner. Yes, he is the son of Kurt. It's his third school. Started at Rice last year. Previous couple of years at Temple. Quick throw there to Jayon Farrar. But experience, that's the point. Close to 40 starts now in college.
Not only 40 starts, like I said at the beginning of the show, he's the active leader in all FBS in terms of yards passing. I mean, that's with guys like Carson Beck, Cole Klubnik, all those guys. And E.J. Warner is the one that leads them all with just over 9,000 yards passing in his illustrious career in college football.
Final 2 minutes of the opening quarter. Again, one touchdown each way. Missed extra point by Oregon State right now is the difference. A little quick throw, and again a missed tackle, and a couple of missed tackles really hurt the Oregon State defense, and Josiah Freeman has taken advantage of those on 2 pass plays. So a big run after catch here.
Perfect throw right in the middle of the zone, and then Freeman does it all on his own, just uses that power and that big stride to pick up more and more yards after the catch. He's been the kind of the difference maker for them on the back end offensively against this Oregon State defense that's having a trouble getting them on the ground.
That ends up being a 30-yard play, and there's the answer by the Oregon State defense. Shamar Meikle. One of the new faces, one of the many new faces on this Beaver defense out of Miramar, Florida.
You know, when you read your keys the right way and you use your speed and your explosiveness, that's what happens. Play fast. You're not thinking, you go get the football.
Kai Wallen, who was hurt, wearing number 18 for Oregon State, is back in the game. He's playing on the right edge of the defense, and that's an important return. The running back here's Elijah Gilliam. He's bottled up, and that's going to leave Fresno with a long third down. Oregon State's defense had some defections, and they were really hurt on the edges in the portal movement, and that's why getting Kai Wallen in as a transfer and having Meikle in as a freshman, along with returner Nico Taylor, those are the guys the Beavers are really counting on.
They're really counting on them to be the forces that they need, and Trent Bray's got to feel really good having Kai Wallen back in the game after that injury scared a lot of them on that first drive.
And Fresno State will allow the first quarter clock to run out. And so Trent Bray and the Oregon State Beaver defense will hope they can stop Fresno State on this possession when the second quarter starts.
Keep his job.
Well, this is the beginning of what will become a full adventure next year. Fresno State will be one of the teams joining the Pac-12. It's going to spread through the mountains
to
into
the
the San Joaquin Valley. Exactly. I like that. Somebody wrote a song about this.
There's going to be some nice venues.
To the beaches and eventually to San Marcos, Texas. And the new 8-team football conference for the Pac-12, and of course Gonzaga will also be joining the league for all sports other than football. Dallas Baptist has joined as an affiliate member for baseball. But this will become a yearly matchup, Fresno State and Oregon State, orange and red. And Warner takes a shot on third down, well overthrown and intercepted. And it's going to be run back out of the end zone by Jalil Tucker. And a long run back, and I see no flags, which is often what happens. And you see the Oregon State defense for long times here. The Beaver defense has prided themselves on turnovers.
Great job, almost like a punt, but not to the advantage. The return happens, and he takes advantage. This was a great play. Oregon State now back on the top with the momentum when we come back to Corvallis.
Now Fresno State with a 7-6 lead, early second quarter. This Tuesday on NXT, two-time WWE Tag Team Champions DIY return to confront Trick Williams. Don't miss an all-new WWE NXT Tuesday at 8, 7 Central, right here on the CW. All right, big play by the Beaver defense, Nigel Burton.
Well, it was a great play call. They tried to get a switch combination here for a post and an out combination, but the key to this whole play was actually the backside safety is Jalil Tucker, who's responsible for the vertical, the tight end. Tight end stays in the block. He does a great job reading the eyes of the quarterback. And now, because of that, go ahead and let it play. Now when E.J. Warner decides to take the shot on the post, he thinks he has it beat. But Jalil Tucker does a great job of providing help. So now E.J. has to throw the ball over the shoulder, which creates the pick. Big-time interception, big-time play for the Beaver defense. Big-time interception, big-time play for the Beaver defense.
Fresno State was starting to establish that offense once again. Defense makes a big play and gives it back to their offense.
And big credit to Jaheim Patterson. He was the man that Nigel pointed out there. Here's Trent Walker throwing it. And holding it and catching it is the quarterback, Jabari Johnson. Hey, how about that catch and holding it despite getting popped?
Yeah, it was a wonderful trick play, well executed. Nigel, what did you think of that one?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Malik Murphy's like, hey, why don't you go ahead and run this one, buddy? I might take a shot here.
Well, Ryan Gunderson opening things up a little bit as Hankerson on first down will get a tough 3.
Hankerson lines up in the backfield, and he looks like he's running sweep, flips it to Walker, who then puts it perfectly on Johnson, who gets lit up, but after picking up the first down, he holds on to the football. I get your point, Nigel, there. Malik just is like, I'll take this one. I'll take this one off.
And Jabari Johnson's 5'11", 180-something. Murphy's 6'5", 235. But Jabari Johnson, again, getting the snaps here in this series. Showing a little toughness. Now he's going to try to run. This is what he brought last year to the Beaver offense. Going to be, let's see where the mark is. I think it's going to be first down. Close to the 30-yard line, and it is an Oregon State first.
This coaching staff was very complimentary all last year with Jabari Johnson, and to see him get some reps in these meaningful drives, I think speaks to how much this team wants to see him get better, because they know that he's probably the future at quarterback here at Oregon State.
From Tacoma, Jabari Johnson originally went to Missouri, but this is now his second year in the Beaver program. Murphy back in. Hankerson gets it down. That's almost a first down gain on first down. Now Zillian Hamilton finally on the Fresno State tackle.
This has been the same type of kind of counter tray play where he just gets downfield almost like with a offensive lineman leading the way, and allows him to lower his pads and pick up 9 more yards on first down.
Saladin Allah in the game. And Allah running it down inside the 5, although they're going to get a flag there on the block. I believe it was the block by tight end Caulfield. So that'll back up the Beavers a little bit from the end of Saladin Allah's run.
Offense, number 8. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul.
Yeah, from the spot of the foul, so it's still going to be a positive play.
He's just got that left arm outside, and you can see the jersey getting pulled back. All you got to do is let go there. That's not a big deal. If he lets go of his hand, there's not going to be a penalty called. It was a tremendous run. by Saladin Allah. He does a great job of hesitating on the perimeter, which allowed him to get to the edge and almost get into the end zone.
Still ends up being a positive play, a 16-yard play that puts Oregon State at the Fresno State 17. Malik Murphy gives to Hankerson. And Hankerson runs it down close to the 10. And this is the identity that Trent Bray wanted to establish. It really did the first half of last year. Offensive line, 2 good running backs. This year, 1 running back gone, Jam Griffin, and the offensive line is largely new.
It's largely new, but they have kind of come together pretty quickly. Malik Murphy getting here early on, was part of this team in the summer and in the fall camp. He's really become the leader. They all feel very good about one another. Last week was, I think, a big shock to a lot of the people in this building with that loss.
All right, Murphy looking to find, and does find in the back of the end zone. For now, it is a touchdown to Malachi Durant. There is also a flag down in the secondary.
Holding defense.
Another first, Malachi Durant from Seattle, 2nd year in the program, first catch as a Beaver.
Yeah, this is a throw you weren't going to see last year either, all the way to the 3rd read in the progression on the back end of the end zone. Nigel, how difficult is that as a defender to stay on your receiver for that long?
It's virtually impossible, Ryan. And here's the thing, the way that Oregon State has established the run game, which they were not able to do last week against Cal, is what's opening all this up now. Pounding the ball. We have another mistake on the special teams with the snap.
It's been a big story here, and we need to stay on this. Oregon State does not have a long snap right now, and it's going to impact Trent Bray's decision-making here. And this is something that we've seen develop, and it's not pretty clear. 12-7 Oregon State. You're watching CW Football Saturday, and it's presented by Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl, starting at $13.99 now with spicy 3-meat sauce. And by Pacific Life, nearly 160 years strong with financial strategies for a more confident future. Well, the big picture here for Oregon State, they have played a much better first half. Something they've really focused. This is a definite concern, though, for Trent Bray, Ryan, in the second half.
Yeah, the inability to get center to holder exchange, which is a long snapper that they lost a week ago. It's incredibly important. Sometimes it was just like we wanted to get it back there where we need to. You can just throw a backup quarterback in there to spin it. You can't touch the long snapper anyway on a play like that.
And you saw Dylan Black. This is Rayshawn Luke, who has a crease, and that's closed off quickly by the Beavers. Dylan Black is the Oregon State long snapper, hurt last week against Cal. The backup Jackson Robertson scuffling, and there is no backup to the backup right now. 12-7 Beavers. Matt Entz, first year at Fresno State. Played college football himself, small school linebacker, and man, was he a successful head coach eventually at North Dakota State. Ryan, you said, did you call one of the championship games?
You know, I called the national championship last year where he was at USC. Just a year after he left, the team went back to the national championship and won that. They are a dynasty there in Fargo. He is in a long line of great coaches, but he has been very, very successful at motivating and getting young men to play at their highest potential. And when this opportunity presented itself for him to take that next step, and especially getting into the bigger and more pronounced conference such as the Pac-12, he jumped at the opportunity.
There's a phrase that is the trademark of his football team is there's a big run by Donaldson, gets it out. That's going to be a first down gain. Matt Entz's line for his team is toughness wins. And I asked him if he picked that up from a former coach or somebody he played for. He said, no, he's watching Iowa State beat Miami in a bowl game last year, and he saw how hard Iowa State played and how they stopped on a 4th and goal to win the game. And he said that was the phrase that popped into his head.
I mean, it's the toughness of playing football, period, is huge, and it's something you can control. You can only control the three things: the attitude, the behavior, and the effort. And that's exactly where the toughness wins comes into play.
There's good stuff. Skylar Thomas, one of the returning defensive backs for the Beavers, voted as a captain.
Yeah, he was an impact player for us at the beginning of the game here, just because he's going to be asked to do a lot, not only in the back end, but usually more around the line of scrimmage. He's a bigger safety at 212 pounds and 6'2", so he's going to start off on the back end, but as you can see here, he's going to get himself up there and stick his nose into Fresno State's business most often.
Warner, quick throw caught by Freeman rather, and he's going to be near the 45 of Oregon State.
The thing about his dad, Kurt Warner, is that he always threw such a catchable football. You know, it was never too hard. He needed to get it when he needed to, but look how catchable this football is. It's just a little arc to it as it covers up, and Freeman catches it perfectly in stride and picks up another first down.
I've always loved talking to quarterbacks through the years about that. That's something fans don't understand, is whether you throw the ball. I remember the great Burt Jones. They used to tell me he was the hardest guy to catch because he threw the ball nose down.
Yeah, that's usually what happens when you throw it too hard.
Yeah. And the catchable balls, the nose of the ball, in theory, slightly up so the receiver can catch the fat part of the ball.
Well, a big part of that is being able to find it, right? You can find it with, because great wide receivers use their hands. They extend them and they grab it. There's the guy we were talking about, two-time NFL MVP.
Arena football product.
He's the only player to be in both the Arena and Pro Football Hall of Fames.
It's second down now at the Oregon State 44. And Luke busts through. And now Luke, he is gone. Once he gets there, that's why they call him Speedy. Rayshawn Luke, 44 yards.
Wow, when he gets to that second level, he makes two guys miss. Watch this jump cut as he gets in there. Right there, and then this other one right in front of, boom. Leans to the right, gets back to the left, and he is to the house. No one's going to catch that. Speedy running back.
They had 3 touchdowns last week in Fresno State's home win over Georgia Southern. And so a quick strike, mostly on the ground by Fresno State. And they are able to kick the point, so now a 2-point Bulldog lead. And right now Fresno State with this over 100 yards rushing in the first half. Rayshawn Luke with the touchdown run to put Fresno State back in front. Let's take another look at the Pacific Life replay. Nigel?
Well, Ted, I know a lot of people are going to question the linebacker here overplaying things to the right, but that really wasn't the issue. The issue was there was a line stunt, and it was the 2 defensive tackles. So as you go ahead and let the play run, and we'll freeze it. So go ahead and let the play run. And if we freeze it, then we can see that there's a situation where the defensive tackle doesn't cross face. And again, there's been a tackling issue with the Oregon State defense. It's because it's like being in a karate movie, Ted and Ryan. We don't want to go one by one trying to fight Bruce Lee. We want to attack them, all 10 of us at once. If we go one by one, we get our butt kicked. So let's swarm to the football. Don't be a karate movie. Back to you guys.
All right, David Wells on the run back here for Oregon State. And that is something, that is a good point, Nigel, because that's what Fresno State, and remember, Oregon State's best defensive lineman out today with injury, and the Bulldogs have run the ball successfully to take this first half lead.
Mike Hammond's at our CW studios. We got the halftime report coming up in just a bit. It's presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. Michael Bumpus will join me in studio. We'll relive some dramatic moments between Baylor and SMU. Not to mention, we will check in and get a preview on the NASCAR Xfinity Series from St. Louis. That's coming up at the half. We'll send it back to Ted, Ryan, and Nigel.
Well, thanks, Mike. Fresno State with the 2-point lead. Again, the difference right now are 2 failed conversion attempts by Oregon State. Unable to snap properly on extra point attempts. Oregon State was very open with us, Ryan, this week. They felt they needed to play today with energy, with an urgency that they didn't show last week against Cal. That seems to have been done so far.
It does. I do question some of the physicality and some of the effort around the line of scrimmage. That may be a little different.
Oh, a nice throw there by Murphy to Walker. And Trent Walker, who was the go-to man last week, as he was at the end of last season for the Beavers, takes it down to the Fresno State 45.
Yeah, wonderful job, Malik Murphy, to use a little arm angle to get the ball out and get him to his receiver, Sauce Walker, early in his route so he can pick up some yards after the catch.
And the offensive results you see there, 2 out of 3 drives have been touchdowns. Trent Bray, though, is facing again a significant issue. Right now he does not have a long snapper. As running it straight ahead, Hankerson takes it inside the 40, and it is one of those things that he never had to think about as a defensive coordinator. Now as a head coach, you have to think, do I have somebody else as an emergency thing going, or am I just going to go for 2?
Well, right now I think the reasonable thing is, and being down 2, you probably are in a situation where you might need to go for 2 as it is anyway, but that's
never point you will. Right?
Yeah, and that's the whole point in this. You never think, you take it for granted when you have a long snapper, and when one goes down, I don't know if this is something that they saw happening all week or if it's just the nerves of playing in a big game.
Yeah, that we don't know. You're exactly right, because they have a second on the roster. Jackson Robertson has been the snapper today, and before the game I was told there is no one behind him, which is, they've been trying somebody, but the other point is it comes into play is potential situations when you get close to field goal range.
Well, it's huge because they found a kicker, right? We saw a week ago where he booted one over 50 yards. That is an important facet of this, and luckily for them that when they've been in situational opportunities, they've made the most of it and got in the end zone so far tonight.
So short 3rd down, and they'll just do the push here with Jake Reichel in the game. And Murphy takes it down to the 30-yard line.
6'5", 235 pounds. Yeah, that's
that should be.
That tush push is not really needed there with that kind of leg churn from the young quarterback. You and I were talking about this before the game. At one point, when Malik Murphy was at Texas, in that quarterback room there, it was Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers, and Malik Murphy at one time, and that is a recruiting dream right there.
The play action throw incomplete, wasn't going to get any yardage anyway. It's a new tight end to the Beavers, Riley Williams. On the receiving end, Jaden Pearson, the veteran linebacker now at Fresno State on the tackle. Williams, a Portland native who came back to Oregon this year to play for the Beavers after playing at Miami.
And that play, of course, was more on that veteran linebacker you spoke of, Jaden Pearson. He got there as quick as anything to knock that ball away when it should have been a very easy completion on 1st down.
And Murphy taking a shot for Walker, just off the fingertips. Boy, Walker came close to making an awfully difficult catch.
This is one of those times that we heard Coach Gunderson talk about with Malik Murphy. You have a wide open Caulfield as the tight end in the zone. He overlooks him, takes a shot over the top. Nigel, what did you see there?
Yeah, I think what Gunny was also trying to do was go empty formation so that he could really clear up the picture from Malik Murphy. Knew they were in man, thought he could get a good one-on-one. We'll see what they do here on 3rd down.
And again, you'd have to think this could be 4-down territory for the Beavers.
Especially with no long snapper.
Switch the protection, gets the throw out on the flat. Nice move in the open field by Taz Reddix. And that gets the Beavers inside the 15.
This is exactly what Ryan Gunderson, offensive coordinator for the Beavs, was talking to us about with Malik Murphy. This is where he's dangerous. He's accurate. He can put the ball, gets it out of his hands quick. Let these talented skill position players use those skills, pick up a 1st down, and get them inside the 15.
18 yards, and a lot of that after the catch by Taz Reddix. Fort Lauderdale, returning receiver. Hankerson, they were on top of him with the Bulldog defense, led by Kavion Thunderbird. Finn Claypool there as well.
I've been impressed with what Oregon State is and how they bounce back. Every other drive outside that one that got stalled, they've been very impressive up front. And Malik Murphy, though with a couple hiccups here or there, has been very accurate with the football when needed.
And now they're going to go empty again with Hankerson coming all the way out to this 3 bunch at the bottom. Murphy looking top and drills it to the outside, and Reddix is bumped out of bounds at the 5, which will leave a short 3rd down.
You know, Nigel made a really good point, Ted, about when they go empty, you really clean up the look for a quarterback. It really makes you identify quickly whether they're going to be blitzing or you're going to get zone coverage. And that time, it cleared it up for him to go one-on-one with the 2 receiver set to the right, where he had 2 defenders.
All right, so now Murphy was looking to the sideline for the decisions here, and Trent Bray called a timeout. And I got to think again, this is going to be 2 downs to get the 3 of maybe 5 yards. Nigel?
Right.
Maybe 5 yards. Nigel?
Ryan, I empty empty offensive play. Hey, you know, the other thing is when you look at the last time they went empty, another thing you look for as an offensive coordinator, and I guarantee you Gundy saw this, when they went empty on the last play, Fresno State really spread themselves out. There was absolutely nobody in the box other than the 4 defensive linemen. You saw Oregon State cut so that they could get a quick throw out. I would look for a quarterback draw. If they line up like that again with absolutely no linebackers in the box, I would look for a quarterback draw, because there is nobody there. You got 5 offensive linemen on 4 defensive linemen.
Yeah, this is a little bit before your time, Nigel, but I was a freshman playing at Husky Stadium, and that's exactly what we did. We went empty, and if you guys moved your backers out of the middle there, all I did is give my center a little goose, and away we went, and there was no one there. And that was when I got one of my first touchdowns rushing the football.
Hey.
Go Cougs.
Live in the present. Let's stop talking about the past. All right?
You weren't there yet. You don't have to worry about it, right? You were just a youngster playing at Pacific.
In the present, you saw Oregon State working out this potential new snapper, Will Haverland, who's a linebacker. And we'll see if they utilize him at the end of this possession, whether it's an extra point or a field goal. Reichel is in as a fullback. Hankerson trying to run it and tackled for loss. And that's going to force a tough call for Trent Bray. Jazon Jacks on the defensive stop for Fresno State. And they lose 4 yards on the play.
Interesting play call, knowing that you were most likely going to kick.
And here comes Haverland. So this is going to be a first long snap for Will Haverland to try a field goal attempt by Caleb Ojeda of 27 yards. Windsor, the punter, holds, and the ball down and the kick up. And that is a massive exhale for Oregon State, because it just could not repeat what we had seen 3 times previously in this first half.
You know, you never thought you would think about it as an audience member here, a crowd member, to focus so much in on a long snap and get it done. But they get the field goal, they get the points, another great drive, and now they take the lead late here in the first half. Well executed.
Yeah. You're right. Long snapper is the most worthless position in football, because no one ever notices it until there's a miss. And you have to be perfect.
Yes.
When there's a miss, everybody sees it. All right, coming up next, NASCAR Xfinity Series will be in St. Louis. Fast speeds, fierce battles, no shortage of fireworks. The NASCAR Xfinity Series from St. Louis comes up next only on the CW. It's the long snapper in football. You can play 20 years. Because you said with all the rules now at both Saturdays and Sundays to protect you from getting hurt, but you have to be perfect.
Yep.
And if you're not perfect, it's like a reliever and a closer in baseball. They're going to replace you.
It's like the holder too. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
These are things that are within a battery of a kicking game. You have the long snapper, you have the holder, and you have the kicker, and they work so seamlessly together until one piece of that puzzle is off kilter in any way, and that's where the focal point or the magnifying glass goes.
Here's Rayshawn Luke again, trying to pick his hole. He does, and he's gone again with a flag. You can see it coming. Now there is a flag, and again, the initial assumption is that's going to be a bad block. Man, you could see him just slowing down to pick his hole.
Holding.
But
Return
unfortunately
team
for
number
Fresno
35.
State, there was a bad block to wipe out 99 yards.
Yeah, unfortunate for Oregon State because this is a call.
Watch this, right? Look at him. He just picks a spot here. There we go. And that's going to.
I mean, that is ticky-tack, I tell you that much. What a tremendous job of being patient and finding the hole. I mean, Rayshawn Luke has absolutely been a beast this year and has really gotten Fresno State and the Bulldogs back on the right track last week.
And he never really got a first-team run in his time at Arizona. He was behind a couple of good backs, including Jonah Coleman, who went with Jed Fish up to Washington. But that's, as we all say, you can't coach it, you can't teach speed. The screen pass out here to tight end Anderson. And Richie Anderson makes it a short gain. Well, on the Oregon State side, the special teams department and Coach Jamie Christian, what a first half. First, you've had to worry about the long snapper dilemma, and now you have to figure out what am I going to do on kickoffs, and do I have somebody that can just blast it in the end zone?
Yeah, that's a bigger question, you know.
Just take the return out.
All three phases, and every coach is looking for that mountaintop of all three phases being great.
Swing throw out here, Donaldson, and that's covered nicely by the Oregon State defense. Meikle. And help from Salisa Vindrawala. Out of the secondary, going to leave 3rd down and 4. Fresno State has run it well. Fresno State's run it well. They've had 4 runs of 10 or more yards already.
Yeah, they've been explosive, I think is the best way to put it. They've been very explosive in the run game over the last 2 weeks. And interesting here, I don't know if they'll actually take a snap here, let it go down to the 2-minute timeout before they decide to run a play.
Yeah, that's what happens. So, 2-minute timeout. And stay tuned for the final 2 minutes of the half, and it's presented by the Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card. We're in the final 2 minutes of the half. Time for the 2-minute drill presented by the Active Cash Credit Card from Wells Fargo. Be a 2%er. Earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases. Terms apply. All right, in Corvallis, we've seen Fresno State, you said it, Ryan, explosive.
Explosive, and what Oregon State needed to do is to stop the run, and they just haven't done it. Even E.J. Warner has gotten into the mix with his 2nd rushing touchdown of his career. And then both Donaldson as well as the big play by Luke here that absolutely put Oregon State on notice on what they're trying to do.
So big 3rd down, incomplete pass, and that will get or should get Oregon State back the ball. And a nice story there, the cover by Trey Glasper, who has stepped in and had to start last week, kind of in a last-minute decision as a cornerback for Oregon State. He got picked on early. He responded well. And Trey Glasper on that defensive play. How about that? He turned 18 yesterday. 18.
Yeah, playing college football when you're 17 years old.
And in this day and age, playing against 25-year-olds.
Yep. Great stop by the defense. I can't speak to that more for them to give them the ball back here.
And that is Trent Walker on the return. So now it's set up for the Beavers to try and get the great 2-for-1 if they can score in what they hope would be the final possession of the first half and then receive the second half kick.
Yeah, it couldn't have gone any better for them to get that stop on a 3-and-out. And now they do have that opportunity, just as you said, Ted. This really allows for Malik Murphy to showcase his skills, his maturity, his ability to lead here. Get them some sort of points before halftime with 2 timeouts and about 1:47 to go, and then get the ball coming back out at half.
Walker motions, run to Hankerson, and Fresno State bottles him up. And again, we're seeing in the first half play out what is a different, very different look for the Oregon State run game, whereas the carries the first half of last year were split. Hankerson's at 15 already today.
Yeah, you want to see more probably from Saladin Allah, more of that kind of change up speed to it. I want to go back to that last play just there. Jaden Pearson once again, the linebacker for Fresno State. Incredibly fast, gets Hankerson to the ground, sets up a long second.
Letting the clock run, but the Beavers have the 3 timeouts. Or excuse me, the Beavers have 2 timeouts. And there's a good tackle to stop any gain after the catch, and that's Pearson again, bringing down Caulfield.
I mean, he's been everywhere. He was everywhere a week ago against Georgia Southern as the leading tackler on defense. Just absolute job, great job dropping into his zone and then perfectly situated to make a great tackle. Low pad wins, gets Caulfield to the ground, and after a timeout,
yeah,
we're going to have a very important third down.
Well, how about that? So now Pearson's defensive play and puts Matt Entz in the spot. He called a timeout, thinking they've got a shot to get the ball back.
Well, he probably just, remembered exactly what you told our entire audience, is that the Bees get the ball coming out in the second half. And so it's important if they are able to get the ball back here in some field position, because they're incredibly good at special teams. Nigel, what are your thoughts?
I'll be honest with you. The reason for the timeout, if they can get the Beavs to 4th down, the snapper. That's going to be the biggest issue, is can they get a snap off? So great move by Matt Entz if the Beavs don't convert this 3rd down.
All right, so Oregon State needs 7. And Fresno State still has 2 timeouts, so if they do get the ball, then you're 100% right. We have not yet seen a deep snap for a punt from the new snapper. We had 1 errant snap in the first quarter. And let's see. All right, we have an Oregon State timeout.
30 seconds away.
All right, so the Beavers take their second, which is unfortunate for them if they can convert, because that's kind of a lost timeout. Timeout coming out of a timeout. But there it is, Will Haverland. And again, just to set the stage, if you're joining us in progress, Oregon State's veteran long snapper Dylan Black missed all of last year undergoing chemotherapy and treatment for testicular cancer, completely recovered. A fabulous story. He is cancer-free, but that injury happened last week in week 1 against Cal to the right hand. Can't snap today. The backup, Jackson Robertson, had 2 wild snaps on extra points and an errant snap on a punt. That's Black. The emotional moment that any patient who's been through that understands, when you're told you are cancer-free.
Incredible.
So now the 3rd down throw, and it's Walker, but wrapped up, and he's short. And now what does Trent Bray do? Because Fresno State is going to call the timeout. And a good tackle on Walker right at the spot of the catch. He is about 1.5 yards, if I see the mark properly, about 1.5 yards short.
It's a good decision. He throws the ball perfectly on the outside shoulder. He spins, but Azilian Hamilton is just right there on the spot and makes a great tackle. Great job by a corner. That's what you do when you get it empty and you have a lot of one-on-ones. You have your guy go make a play, and that's exactly what Hamilton did, the senior out of Castro Valley.
Will Haverland from Eugene, Oregon, linebacker, and has snapped once on a PAT. Now remember, Trent Bray last year in FBS football, only 1 team went for more 4th downs than Oregon State. They only need 1 yard here. The mark of the ball, it's 1 full yard.
If they don't get this is a big deal right here. I mean, the idea around the punting aspect of things and the long snapping, just like Nigel told us.
Absolutely.
That's a huge facet in his decision here on 4th down.
1 tight end. Now they shift in Caulfield, 2 tight ends. Murphy gets up under center. Tush push coming. And no. What happens?
Ball start.
Oh.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 88, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Ooh, false start on tight end Riley Williams, and now immediately Trent Bray sends out the punt unit. And so it will be Haverland for the first 15-yard snap. Punters A.J. Windsor, the other punt in this half was a ground ball on the snap, which he cleanly fielded and got the punt away.
They're just going backwards, Ted. These are the things that Trent Bray was talking to us about. Penalties before and after the snap that you can control.
Start. Offense, number 34. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
You know, I know this is hard for any fan of a team. It's just difficult to take. You've just gifted 10 yards in what's already a dicey situation.
Uh-oh.
And that's kicked. But going to be fielded on the run by Fresno State. There is a flag down for the kicking of the football, but it's run back into the end zone. Jaden Carrillo, a defensive back, fielded the ball and ran it back. There's also a flag down, which I believe is for Windsor kicking the ball.
For kicking the ball on the ground. That wasn't the snapper's fault. That was a relatively good snap to the punter's hands. He just dropped it.
It's a special teams disaster is what that sequence was, and there's just no other way to say it.
No, this
Two
entirety.
penalties plus this?
This entirety part has been a disaster.
Kicking team number 38. That penalty is declined.
Yeah.
The result of the play is a touchdown.
That is, well, watched a lot of football. You guys have played a lot of football. I've never seen this.
I mean, the ball is spinning incredibly hard to the right side of him. Still, it's right at his hip. Tremendous job by Fresno picking the football up and staying within the play and getting a touchdown on the return. Wow.
Fresno State running up and down, jumping up and down the sidelines. The coach is going crazy there about something, and I'm not sure what. So it's a 42-yard run back by Jaden Carrillo for the Fresno State touchdown.
It looks like
have you ever seen anything like that, Ryan?
No, I have not seen anything like that. I've seen that happen on onside kicks before, things of that nature, where somebody, the up man, catches it and goes the other way, but they're going to go for 2 here.
Gilliam is the running back, and Warner's going to keep it. And that play is smothered. That's a nice recovery by the Oregon State defense.
That's some hubris, I think. Offensive coordinator Joshua Davis makes there. He's like, we can run anybody. We'll even run our E.J. Warner, who has not been as fleet of foot. He just gets pounced on, and another play made that changed the score. 20-15 now. That's not the football score we would have expected.
It's a tremendous for Fresno State, and from the Oregon State side, this has been again a special teams disaster in the first half that has completely swung the game.
Yeah, if you've chosen not to, if Trent Bray would have went into this game and just chosen not to kick the football, whether that be with a extra point or a punting situation where they had that 4th and 1, if they wouldn't have made the 2 penalties, they would be in a much better situation than have they not done it at all. So there's going to be a lot for them to talk about at halftime. You know, I've loved the effort, but this is about execution right now. And this is something that he cannot put up with if you are the head football coach of this team.
Yeah, and that's the word that Trent used with us this week, right?
Yep.
Execution.
He says they got beat last week.
Yes.
He said they got beat last week because they did not execute. It wasn't as if Cal beat them.
All right, kicked along the ground. That's fielded well on the up, and the ball will get for Oregon State. Now, Beavers still have a timeout. They have enough time to try it here and traverse, if anything, to give themselves a field goal try. 40 seconds and a timeout. All right, CW football tonight. Another future Pac-12 matchup. San Diego State and Washington State. It'll be 10:15 Eastern, 7:15 Pacific, only on the CW. And Ryan Leaf and Nigel Burton saw the Cougs win last week in Jimmy Rogers' debut in Pullman against Idaho.
Yeah, for a lot of those Coug fans, you would have thought they got beat by 50 last week. It was crazy flying home the next day and seeing the reaction from Cougar fans.
3 receivers to the top for Oregon State. Murphy goes out quick, looking for some blocking, and trying to get to the sideline is Reddix. And look at that, Fresno State. Well, he did get the timeout call, so he clearly got to the sideline.
Yeah, I was with you on that one. I thought Jakari Embry did a tremendous job of keeping him in play, but it looks like he is able to get out of bounds. And
it's not a first down, so they stopped the clock. Somehow Reddix forced his way there. Good job by the receiver. So they gained 9 yards, used up 7 seconds. Another quick underneath throw, and that will get to the sideline. All right, it's 2 good plays for Oregon State. Both catches and runs by Taz Reddix. And now the Beavers can think about, at the very least, giving themselves a field goal try.
Yeah, exactly the same play, just switch to the other side with the hash mark, and all it is a wide receiver screen, and allows their other wide receivers to start blocking. And Sauce Walker did a tremendous job on both of those instances of getting hands on his defender and blocking him, giving Reddix a chance to get a first down.
Caleb Ojeda hit 53 last week. Trent Bray told us 55 would be the comfort limit that they would have. We have a stoppage Fresno State timeout.
They were going to run exactly the same play again to the open side of the field. And Matt Entz was not going to have it happen a third time as he called a timeout.
Well, you see Trent Bray again wearing a wristband as the defensive play caller this year. Ryan Gunderson calls the offensive plays up top for Oregon State. Malik Murphy, and this is something as a quarterback, Ryan, we should have you talk about. Malik Murphy's in a new system this year. Air raid at Duke, pro style, and Oregon State very open with us saying that's the reason we're running this. We want him to have a chance to play on Sundays.
Yeah, it's important for him to get that, kind of get that tutoring to get ready. And that's exactly what Ryan Gunderson said. He said if he plans on playing on Sundays, this is the type of offense he's going to be playing in. And he has to understand that you can't just go off and do your own thing. Like this is a offensive system that's based around him and him making the right choices. I asked Ryan Gunderson how he received the tough coaching this week, because that's a big deal. Somebody who was brought in, he's a captain of the team. He made some mistakes that they showed him this week, and he said his response was amazing. He was right in there, willing to work. Guys responded around him, and I think you've seen that in the performance here in the first half.
So 1 timeout remaining for the Beavers. And Murphy comes back with a screen set up, but Hankerson, classic case of running before securing.
Great play call. Ryan Gunderson puts exactly the same thing to the right of the field. They look like they're going to throw it and then go back with the screen, and he's got something set up here. He's got some of the big uglies up front there getting ready to push him out of the way, and Hankerson just can't handle it. So we hear him fluttering in the audience. Do you eat with those hands?
Well, you could see his face, frustration.
Yeah.
He realizes second down. 25 seconds. Murphy stands in, has a man sideline, and that is going to be a catch. Well done by Eddie Freoff, who had his first catch for a touchdown earlier, and now does a terrific job of holding it, getting the sideline. And Oregon State at the very worst now is in field goal position.
That's the difference between Malik Murphy and any of the other quarterbacks in college football, really. His ability, that's a cover 2 look. So there's a little vacuum, just a little hole shot there, corner underneath, safety over the top. And it's very rare that you're able to have a quarterback with the arm strength that can put it where he needed to. On his back shoulder, Freoff goes up and uses his hands to make the catch.
6'3", 214, big-bodied receiver. Murphy into the move. If you're on the Oregon State side, you go, phew, wow.
Yeah, Ethan Tierney there on the back end, transfer from Northern Illinois. He just absolutely reads it immediately, sees the guy crossing the field, and he jumps right into that route and almost picks it off. Watch him on the back end. He knows it immediately as he starts taking off for the underneath receiver. Great job on his part to break it up and set up second down.
So again, 16 seconds, and the Beavers can use the field with 1 timeout. They'd love to find the explosive play here and find the end zone. Now we had pointing on the offensive line, and they're calling that against Oregon State. Again, the Beavers have new left
offense, number 74.
Yeah, they called
penalty.
the Beavers have new starters. Their left guard, or excuse me, their left tackle Strand is out today with an injury, and they're starting Jacob Anderson as the left tackle and Dylan Sikorsky is the left guard. Those guys are not even on the depth chart. That's Van Wells, the center, who was the only returner up front.
False start. Offense, number 55.
And you're starting to see signs that you saw last week watching Oregon State. You're seeing the player frustration show.
It is incredibly frustrating when these are situations that it's very rare in a football game that a player has any sort of control over anything. But most things before the snap and after the snap are those things that you do.
And Murphy drills one almost caught by Reddix. That would have been another big-time completion.
This is an accurate football, but it's just as accurate as the throw was here. Simeon Harris was perfect in his coverage just to come underneath it enough to make it more difficult for Taz Reddix to grab that ball. That's just great football all around by the quarterback, receiver, as well as defender to break it up.
So 11 seconds, third down. And Murphy throws it up and it's picked, and now Oregon State best tackle. And they do get Simeon Harris out of bounds. Well, that's simply self-inflicted by Oregon State. They were at the very worst. They had a field goal shot until the 2 false start penalties.
Yeah, he just rolls out of the pocket right away when he feels pressure, and then he tries to come back across his body, and Simeon Harris is just baiting him to make that throw. Good job on his part. Would have looked to the outside with Sauce. Good job on his part. Would have looked to the outside with Sauce. And if it's incomplete, it's incomplete. You have a shot maybe for a Hail Mary to end the half. Instead, Fresno State will head to the locker room with a 5-point lead.
Well, Oregon State, a few minutes ago, we were thinking about Oregon State trying to go 2 for 1. Wow, what a flip in the final 2 minutes. And Fresno State side pretty giddy, as they should be. And trying to get the Fresno State faithful going. Let's go down to Nigel.
Coach, I know the first half didn't end the way you wanted, but what do you tell your team in the locker room to settle everybody down and finish this thing off?
Yeah, we're fine. I mean, we've allowed ourselves to create their success, both in special teams, fucking joke, right? And then on big plays on defense, 2 long runs for touchdowns that shouldn't exist. They did nothing to harm us. We got to stop killing ourselves.
Appreciate the time, Coach.
And we'll offer our apologies for that. Oops. Clearly emotions getting the better of the head coach. And you know what? He just voiced what all Beaver Nation here voiced during the entire first half. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs are ecstatic. Fresno State with the halftime lead. Well, leading the way, those individual numbers are intriguing, although give E.J. Warner credit. That's a longer touchdown run than his dad ever had in his career. But, Ryan, the other part of that, look at the numbers, the offensive numbers for Oregon State. The yardage-wise and points are fine.
No, the points are fine, and the yardage is amazing. They're on their way to a 550-yard football game in terms of total yardage. What they've done is they've absolutely shot themselves in the foot in every aspect. And I'm not just talking about special teams, but especially with the offense and pre-snap penalties, which have cost them immensely.
All right, let's take a look at our Royal Caribbean game summary from the first half.
All to do with special teams so far, especially around the long snapper. A missed extra point, followed by another bad snap that made them cost another extra point to be down 2. and then the bad snap on a punt that he couldn't grab. Not only does he kick it here, he kicks it to the team, and then he gets to the sideline, and he just absolutely makes a business decision and does nothing to try to get the guy down. And that's how Fresno State has the lead at halftime, 20-15.
Well, we're not allowed in, obviously, at halftime in the locker room. I don't think there's a whole lot of suspicion about what Trent Bray's halftime talk was like. Nigel?
Well, I think one of the things, Ted, is like he told us coming off, is that we're just getting in our own way. And if you look at the touchdown pass that Malik Murphy had, it was fantastic. If we eliminate all the guys who are most important, you know, the offensive and defensive lines, and just look at this play, great job going through his progression, high to low, corner route, flat route, goes back to his actual fourth receiver in the progression, hits the backside for the touchdown. This kid's got a ton of ability and football IQ. Look forward to seeing it shine in the second half.
He also has a lot of hair.
Well, the Beavers have a chance right here to try to erase the memory of the last 2 minutes of the first half. Can they make this drive matter? And they throw over the middle, caught by Walker, and that's a first down to start. Noticing right away that on the first snap of the second half, Oregon State has a receiver in the game, Zach Card, who we seen just a while. Actually, looks like he's going to leave here. But we haven't seen the vertical threats as much yet from the Oregon State pass game.
And it's not necessarily needed with how they're running the offense right now. They've been very efficient in the passing game. There was an RPO right there where he pulls it from Hankerson after the linebacker dives, and he hits a wide open Walker over the middle. So they've been efficient offensively. It's just been the pre-snap stuff that's cost them drives.
All right, Hankerson, the busy workload, and a flag comes in as Hankerson looks like he has a 5-yard first down gain, but we'll see. It's the umpire throwing the flag, so that may not be good for the Beavers.
Holding offense, number 64, 10-yard penalty.
It seems to be the common opinion here.
Oh, it's a feeling. It's a feeling.
And again,
It was the guy walking by the right.
Beavers this year have had to put together a new offensive line.
Yeah, I'm a complete restructured offensive line.
And they have players, Ryan Berger, 64, who got called for that penalty. This is his third year in the program. They have a bunch of offensive linemen who've been here, but this is the first time they've been stepped into the starting role. And Murphy gets rid of it. And there's a nice little involvement that's going to give him a shot now, as Riley Williams makes the catch and the run after. Puts that to the 43.
This is not where he wanted to go with the football, but he finds him open, and if it weren't for the arm strength of Malik Murphy, I don't know if this gets to Riley Williams, but what a big play there after a penalty to now give you a real manageable second down here on this drive.
That leads into something we'll get to after this play, something Ryan Gunderson spoke with us about, the offensive coordinator here. Hankerson knows he's going to be trapped for virtually no game, but he talked about Malik Murphy in the air raid offense he ran at Duke having a lot of improv ability and ad-lib ability, and here it's rules and following the rules of each play.
Well, you design a football play, and what gets you off schedule sometimes makes you a very good quarterback at the collegiate level. But there were reasons why he came here, and one of them was to be in a pro-style offense, because this is what he wants to do. He wants to play this game further than just the collegiate level, and that's why he ultimately picked Oregon State when there was a giant bidding war for him this offseason.
So now on third down, Saladin Ala stays in as a running back, and Walker's trying to get to the stick, and he does. They had two blockers out there for him. Caulfield, the tight end, and Zach Card, wide receiver, and they ran enough interference so that Walker got the first.
Yeah, this has been their best play, really. They've done it multiple times. They get the ball to the inside receiver and allow the two outside receivers to block, and they've done a tremendous job of getting a hat on a hat and then picking up the first down. After that big penalty, that was a huge pickup for this team.
All right, Hankerson getting a breather now. Ala is the running back. Saladin Ala, he's 17 pounds heavier than he was last year.
And you can tell.
The Beavers, exactly. And that's why they hope he's a guy that can be the second running back.
Yeah, that's what they definitely need. You can tell. He was just a young kind of freshman a year ago. And this year, put on that little extra weight, still has the speed, though adding that extra weight, which has made him a real problem as a second running back for this team.
So Oregon State now in Fresno State territory. Gonna run it again. Ooh, and Ala came close to breaking that, but he gets close to, but looks like just shy of the first down.
Yeah, I thought he was going to plant that foot and bounce it to the outside, which is what you were talking about. If he does that with the speed that he has, he might be able to get to that perimeter and pick up the first down. But now they're in a situation where they feel pretty comfortable with third down, knowing they're in four-down territory if it's this close. But they have to hold their water up front. They got to be committed and be efficient and execute here in these types of situations.
And Murphy's going to keep this again. Now they moved. Boy, the lineman moved again. I believe that was the right guard again. It was Ryan Berger.
False start. Offense, number 64. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
Wow. They were so good a year ago when it came to penalties. They were incredibly good. And today already 7 penalties, and we're not even through the first drive of the second half. I mean, this has got Trent Bray just frustrated.
5 false starts already. So now it's a longer third. Empty backfield. And Murphy hits, and that's a first down catch. Caulfield, tight end. Oregon State football, really for the pretty good run of the last decade or so, has had good tight end play, and that's something they want to get more back to this year.
Yeah, and I think they will with what Ryan Gunderson likes to do and his philosophy about offense. Run the football using that same type of personnel where you got, where you have 11 personnel, 12 personnel even, and his ability to get to the tight end. There was an example of what they've been doing on both sides of the football. They just were able to get it to the tight end on a quick out who picked up the first down.
A good drive by Oregon State to start the second half. Can they finish this drive? And Murphy throws, and there's some jostling there. Pass ends up incomplete. Eddie Freoff, the Oregon State receiver. Simeon Harris, the Fresno State defender.
Really impressed with Malik Murphy. Really impressed with Malik Murphy's arm. And this is very catchable. The two were kind of fighting with their hands a little bit. He got away from him, and it exploded as he leapt towards the sideline, and the ball hits both of his hands. Probably should have been reeled in and wasn't.
Hankerson picking his way through the line, spinning, and he'll get 4. Closed captioning for today's game is brought to you by Euquora. Effective ingredients so you can get your life back.
When was it that you went to closed captioning as like age? Because my wife and I, it's all closed captioning now for us. And I made fun of my parents for so long when they went to it, and now I'm right there.
More on that in a minute. 3rd and 6. Murphy, and there is a free runner who got a piece of the ball. Kavion Thunderbird right in Murphy's face, and that's going to bring up 4th.
What a name for a linebacker. He just free off the edge, and Murphy can't do anything about it as he gets that big paw of his left hand up. And
Thunderbird made sure no late hits or roughing calls. So now 4th down, and Oregon State will go for it. And again, this is to Trent Bray. Last year, 2nd most 4th down attempts in FBS.
Empty. They got 6 guys in the box. If they bring one, he's going to be hot, and it's going to be one-on-one zero coverage.
So they need the 30-yard line.
Here it comes.
Here they come, and Murphy does get rid of it, and he's got it. Reddix. And nice job by Taz Reddix with extra effort at the end to ensure the first down.
I don't know if they did this on purpose either, Ted, but they roll him away from the free rusher, which allows him just a little more time Good job on the defensive side of it. They're playing man coverage, but they see it play out, and he comes off almost in his zone, almost there in enough time by Simeon Harris to make the tackle before the first down.
That was good recognition by you. It took you back to your days, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Didn't see that coming. Nice job. 12th play now of this Oregon State drive to open the second half. And right now, what the Beavers would love is Thunderbird makes the tackle on a Hankerson carry. They'd love an explosive play.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. They've been very methodical going down the football field and haven't necessarily made any of those explosive plays. They put up the offense, though. I mean, they had 277 yards at halftime, and they're putting together another great drive here. But you're exactly right. Ryan Gunnarsson would love to see a big explosive play from this offense in this football game in the second half.
Caulfield slides. Fake pitch on Murphy. Backside blitzer. Murphy spins away. And Alla runs it down close to a first. It's going to be a first down, Oregon State.
I mean, this is something that they haven't seen at Corvallis for some time from your quarterback. He gets absolutely found out, and then he just moves away from the defender with his strength, finds his running back at the check down. Nigel, your thoughts on that play?
It reminded me of sometime back in 1997 as a free runner on a quarterback who was 6'5", 240 pounds, and his name was Ryan Leaf, and it was not fun hitting him. I mean, the amount of strength that Malik Murphy has, that's big time play right there.
Yeah, that was all on his part there to make that play for Oregon State.
Little run by Alla. But that's become a big part of today's football, isn't it? As quarterbacks, I mean, they think of Ben, more recently Ben Roethlisberger's, Cam Newton's, those size quarterbacks. You can get there, but when you get there, can you bring them down?
Yeah, that's a different story, and it was a big reason why he was highly sought after this year. He's not necessarily what you would call a dual threat. He doesn't use his legs that much. He's a pocket passer, but he's a very sizable one. A guy back there in that pocket that makes things very difficult for opposing rushers to get him to the ground.
Quick to the outside. Ooh, and Alla, that was a nice job on the Fresno State defense, racing through. That was Logan Stute, Will linebacker, that got through there, read that play, and snuffs it for a loss, and now it's 3rd and 10.
Yeah, redshirt freshman just absolutely is tired of seeing that play out so far in the first half, and he was cheating a little bit to that side and just explodes. Great job on his part, not only to get there, but get the guy on the ground in open space.
Here's a significant 3rd down play. Alla's in the game to block. Pass comes out. Caught. And Reddix is going to get a first down. It'll be 1st and goal.
Nigel, how are they continuously running the same play and Fresno just doesn't seemingly have an answer for it on the perimeter?
Well, one thing is, again, guys are doing a great job breaking tackles. Taj Reddix has just done a great job. And they're using empty and kind of forcing Fresno State's defense to pick a poison. You want to empty the box? Watch for that quarterback draw to happen. They're trying to keep a guy in the box now, which is creating one-on-ones on the outside.
Reddix a little banged up after that last catch and run has come out on 1st and goal. Hankerson bouncing, cutting, driving, and then the flag comes in. Helmet knocked off of Logan Timoteo. And let's see if that's going to be a foul against the defense. Timoteo's helmet came off. And the referee threw the flag.
Holding.
Here. No.
Offense 55. 10-yard penalty. First down.
So Timoteo has to leave the game for a play, and a holding penalty is going to back up Oregon State.
And this penalty's thrown way on the backside, away from Hankerson. So you're almost asking yourself, what is it even about? 74 is the penalties called. I mean, there is really no reason for that flag to be thrown, in my opinion. But another mistake on their part that backs them up and now sets them up in a very difficult goal-to-goal situation.
Look, this is obvious now in football. This is significant. This is a 10-minute plus drive. It's going to wind up being about 20 plays. If this ends in a field goal, Fresno State feels like they won.
This is the bend but don't break mentality that people talk about on defense.
And Hankerson Gets a few yards. And this drive is just reflective of the word that you used, Ryan, in the first half, and we use again. What Oregon State hasn't had. They've had efficiency in this drive and production, but nothing explosive.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do this a lot in football.
It is. And they've kind of struggled with that under the tenure of Ryan Gunderson. For whatever reason.
On the slant, caught. And David Wells lost it. Knocked away and recovered by Fresno State. So now the question's going to be, the eternal question, is it a catch?
I mean,
and run and fumble. If so, it is Fresno State's ball.
Recovered by the defense. First down, Fresno State.
You want to look for disaster. You look no further than what Oregon State has done at the beginning of this first drive in the second half. I don't think he actually has control, but we'll wait and see.
You're watching CW Football Saturday. It's presented by Olive Garden's Never Ending Pasta Bowl, starting at $13.99, now with spicy 3-meat sauce. And by Pacific Life, nearly 160 years strong with financial strategies for a more confident future. And while we were telling you about that, the announcement's been made by John Love, and I didn't hear it. So tell me, what's the decision?
Well, what they're going to say is that it's targeting, which ultimately leads to the fumble, but the targeting penalty is then negates everything that happens. So Oregon State's now going to have the ball first, I believe first and goal at the 4-yard line. I'm going to say this too. I think it's a horrible call. I don't think for a moment that this is a targeting penalty. I feel like he gets low, uses his shoulder to the shoulder, and knocks the ball out.
Interesting.
I'm not in agreement with that call.
And I have long ago given up on trying to figure out what's a catch, because one thing I would look at that play and I say, did David Wells ever perform a football act with the ball?
Well, I think the football act he performed was taking the hit.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So, well, after all that, it is first and goal for Oregon State at the 4-yard line, and that is another potentially major shift in this game.
And then Thunderbird, that's an ejection then too, right? So he's out not only for the rest of this half, but at the beginning of next week's game too as well.
All right, out of the eye on first and goal at the 4. And off the play action, right goal is in for the Oregon State touchdown. And how significant is that to cap a nearly 11-minute drive?
Well, they capitalize on the call by the official. Great bootleg, naked for Murphy, and then a great throw accurately to the fullback. Jake Reichel gets into the end zone.
All right, see how Oregon State plays this on the extra point attempt here. It looks like they're going to go for 2. All right, Murphy. Oh, man, what a miss. Wide open, man. And the airmail throw, Murphy knows it, negates the 2-point try. And so, Zach Reichel. Well, that's a familiar name, the Reichel name in Oregon State athletics. And it caps a wonderful second half opening drive for the Beavers. What a drive, what a crazy scenario to start the second half. 18 plays, Oregon State scores a touchdown, a significant decision by the officials there. Michael Mothershed, longtime Pac-12 referee, is with us. Michael, explain.
You know, Ted, keep in mind that this is a defenseless receiver. He doesn't have an opportunity to protect himself. Number 10 comes in. There's an indicator of force with that shoulder, and that's exactly what they look at. That's targeting.
That's a great explanation. The defenseless nature of the receiver.
It is the defenseless nature of the receiver. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You watch as it will teach you players defensively, hit what you see. If his head was up, he would have known where his head was at, and may have been able to evade the helmet with the shoulder pad and maybe hit him more in the shoulder, more in the chest. But once he put his head down, he was committed to where he was going, and wherever that receiver ended up is where you're going to hit him.
All right, so look at this. This is the Rayshawn Luke effect. Oregon State obviously not feeling they can get it to the end zone. Pooch kicks short to give Fresno State the ball when we come back. An iconic TV franchise joins the CW with a brand new series, Law & Order Toronto: Criminal Intent. The same team that brought you the original series of ripped from the headline cases, this time on a new network, Law & Order Toronto: Criminal Intent, Wednesday, September 24, right here on the CW. Well, they call this one of the most important games in Fresno State football history. Oregon State visiting 24 years ago as a top 10 team. Fresno State brought in portable stands, a brand new scoreboard, and with David Carr as the quarterback, they won the game, beating Oregon State, who was then quarterbacked by Jonathan Smith. That's right. As Luke runs up the middle on first down and gets a good first down gain. It was called, again, the most significant win in Fresno State history, and to this day, their only win versus a top 10 team.
Yeah, impressive. Catapulted David Carr, of course, to the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft, and ever since then, right, the Valley's been something else when it comes to football and what players want to go there and what they have achieved in that time frame over the last 23, 24 years.
On second down, E.J. Warner gives it off to Donaldson, the running back, who's going to get a first down. The following year, by the way, Fresno State came here. Derek Anderson was by then the Oregon State quarterback. Steven Jackson, who's here today, was the running back, and Oregon State won. And on that team, his first year playing as a linebacker was Trent Bray.
It's the last time they've met, too, until this season. And it's going to become a rivalry every single year in this new Pac-12.
So here's Rayshawn Luke running it and running right into Dexter Foster on the tackle. We have 2 rested units on the field here.
I would argue that is very true, Ted. Almost the entire third quarter chewed up by the Oregon State offense. Fresno State now here with about 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, just trying to stay and match them with the way they've run the football to start this drive.
We'll mention after this play, the V that you see on the Fresno State helmets for those around the country that aren't as familiar. Another run to Luke. Whoops for Oregon State. Luke, the big play threat again, and he runs it down to the 30-yard line of Oregon State. That's the explosive nature that Oregon State is looking for. Luke gives it to Fresno State.
And I really thought he was going to explode and plant his right foot and go back to the left right at the top here, but he's not even looking that way. He found his blockers, got to the outside, picked up as many yards as he could before getting pushed out of bounds. Great play call, great design, and well executed by this Bulldogs team.
20-yard run. Luke now 9 carries for 81 yards. And to the outside, again, Oregon State not able to close the edge off, and Elijah Gilliam takes it down to about the 20. So here's Fresno State all on the ground, moving the ball. And we're mentioning the V that you see on the Fresno State helmets. And again, a lot of folks around the country may not be familiar. The V on the Fresno State helmets stands for the San Joaquin Valley, the Central Valley of California, where they're very proud to represent. It's a huge part of the agriculture
and the identity
of the United States.
Yeah, and the identity of this football program.
And this is just lining up and running the ball right at them. And Fresno State is succeeding.
You know, you look at what the coaching staffs do at halftime when they make these kinds of adjustments. Touchdowns so far this year, 8 rushing touchdowns. Luke, E.J. Warner, and Rayshon, all with 2 touchdowns. 0 passing touchdowns. It would blow you away if you would have researched this game knowing E.J. Warner being the active passing leader in all football with 0 touchdowns and now 5 interceptions on the season.
Elijah Gilliam, and he tried to bounce, but he bounced off his own blocker, tight end Jake Tarwater.
Jacob Schuster, a little lucky he caught a break there with his extracurricular.
All right, it's going to be 3rd and 7 when we come back to start the 4th quarter in Corvallis with the Beavers up 1. You're watching CW Football Saturday, and it's presented by Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl, starting at $13.99, now with spicy 3-meat sauce. And by Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? All right, let's go down and join Nigel on the sideline.
Again, after that first drive by Oregon State.
Didn't do a very good job on 3rd and 4th down. Gave them too many opportunities. Continued to, move the ball. That's what was frustrating. We got to be better on 3rd down defensively, offensively. We need to come away with points with this trip in the red zone.
Appreciate the time, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, that was just moments ago with Nigel and Matt Entz, the Fresno State coach, and here the Bulldogs on a drive that has been all on the ground.
Their first time in the red zone today.
First time, and they have a 3rd and 7 at the Oregon State 17. And Warner, first pass of the drive, and it is caught, although it's going to be short of the first down. This will be the decision now for Matt Entz. As Josiah Freeman made the catch, Trey Glasper, freshman corner, stopped anything after the catch. And Fresno State's going to go for it here.
Yeah, it's going to be a 4th and 1. Forward progress stopped on that throw, and now they're going to put it in the hands of the senior E.J. Warner.
All right, Fresno State making late substitutions, so Oregon State can do the same, and that's going to push the play clock down here. Fresno State very late on their subs. 4th down and 1. No chance for the tush push from this. And they don't get the playoff. Did they take a timeout? No, they didn't. And that's on the substitutions of Fresno State.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty.
And that's one of the things that puzzles me in college football is the coaching making all these late substitutions because you open the door for the defense to sub
as late as they want.
More leisurely pace.
Right, as late as they want.
They were supposed to be a standard, but you're right. It's more leisurely. Nigel?
Yeah, sometimes it just comes down to the fact that maybe it wasn't communicated to the offensive coordinator, Coach Davis, we're going to go for this. So now he's got to try to think through it quickly.
Dylan Lynch now from 34 yards. And that puts Fresno State back in front. But will that make a difference? Oregon State ended a long drive with 6 actually. Fresno State's drive ends with a field goal.
Mike, I'm in our CW studio. We got a potential upset alert here. Troy and Clemson. Tigers are already down 10-0. This is not going to help. Kid Klubnik gets picked off. TJ Thompson into the end zone. That made it 16-0, the ensuing possession. Clemson gets a field goal, but Ted, right now it's a 16-3 count. We're watching this one.
All right, Mike, here in Corvallis, there's been some bizarreness in this game, including this. Oregon State offense has been excellent. 18-play drive, chewed up most of the 3rd quarter. Ended with the touchdown throw to Jake Reichel. The difference in the game continues to be special teams. Oregon State has scored 3 touchdowns and converted after none of them. And that's the difference. And this kick will force Oregon State will take the touchback. Well, let's take a look at our Pacific Life replay.
Great job of showcasing when you run the football, you get chances in the play-action game, and one touchdown there, a big throw down to Walker on the other side of things, and then this was a big pickup on third down with a play-action pass. Once again, goes through all 4 of his reads to his 4th choice in the play-action game for another touchdown by Malik Murphy.
Hankerson, there's one of the better offensive plays for Oregon State. As we remind you, the Pacific Life nearly 160 years strong with financial strategies for a more confident future.
I would consider that an explosive play. That was good to see in the running game. A lot of times you don't necessarily see that. Running the football, you would want to get anywhere from 3, 4, 5 yards. When you can get an explosive play that picks you up a first down on one carry, that is that, and that's what Oregon State needs to see and continue.
Yeah, it's been a heavy workload for Anthony Hankerson. Came to Oregon State last year after an experience, you would say, at Colorado. And has he been a valuable add? And Murphy, can he get away? No. From the backfield came Jaden Davis.
That's impressive by Jaden Davis to get up near the line of scrimmage. He's usually on the back end as a safety, and then to grab the 6'5", 240-pound quarterback and not only get him to the ground in space. Wow, what a tackle for loss after that explosive play. That's exactly what Fresno State needed from their defense here, and what Oregon State definitely didn't need to see happen.
Yep. Big play, -11. We mentioned Murphy's a big, strong guy, tough, not the most mobile guy in today's football game. So that's an 11-yard loss. And bad motion. Hankerson winds up going forward. And that's going to be 6 pre-snap penalties on offense.
False start, offense, number 74, 5-yard penalty.
It wasn't Hankerson, it was on the offensive line. And that left tackle spot, again,
I'd like to know.
Different Jacob Strand not playing today.
Right. I'd like to know, maybe Nigel can fill us in on, is there are they a voice activated or a clap activated snap count down there?
Well, that was clap. You could see that with Murphy, and there's an incompletion. Screen wasn't going to succeed anyway to Hankerson.
Yeah, you know what, Ryan? It's not the offense. I was trying to listen to see if the defense was making any sort of pre-snap, maybe move call or checks that were hard, that were maybe getting the offensive lineman for Oregon State to jump. And I'm not hearing anything on the sideline either. So I just think this has just been a lack of concentration by some of the offensive linemen for Oregon State. Mike Cavanaugh, their offensive line coach, who I know very well, is not going to be a happy camper on Sunday.
No, what is that, 6 false starts so far in this football game, and that is going to make a offensive line coach absolutely nuts.
9 overall Oregon State penalties. And the 3rd and long play, they'll get some yardage to Reddix, and that stat you just saw up there gets interpreted usually by saying, man, that's a pretty good day. You're 8 of 13 on 3rd down, and other people would look at it and say that's a lot of 3rd downs to have. Too many.
That is a great point to look at it that way. A week ago they had 11 in a beatdown where they only converted 3 times. This week 13 already. Have converted a lot more.
Yeah, that's number 14. It doesn't tell you you're not doing enough on 1st and 2nd?
Definitely, but what it's telling me is they're putting themselves in bad positions, what Nigel just talked about, what you just talked about.
Well, when the nightmare continues, Oregon State has not been able to snap the ball on special teams today. And unfortunately, and that young man had never done it before today. He got pressed into action. He's the 3rd long snapper. And nothing the punter can do there except cover. Early 4th quarter, Fresno State with a chance now, an opening to really bust open the lead. We invite you to start the season off right, get game day ready. Scan the QR code you see to shop team swag and game day essentials from the CW Football Saturday Shop. It's all brought to you by Dick's. Every season starts with Dick's. Now this is a a hard game. In fact, if you look at that, you'd say it's a miracle that Oregon State's only down 2 points.
Yeah, it is a miracle with all the simple things of football they haven't been able to execute. And now the defense is put in a very tough position to try to keep them out of the end zone, because if they do, it's a 9-point game.
And there's a reverse to wide receiver Avit. And the big-bodied receiver came from Maryland to Fresno State, takes it down. That'll be a first down at the 11.
You know, we talked about this in the pregame. This is just a great play call here, using the speed of Avit on the outside. EJ gets his way in the way of a defender, just enough to get going. But we talked about in the impact players and the keys to the game. One of them for me was EJ Warner being a great game manager. And I think that name, that identifier gets a bad rap sometimes. When you manage the game better than anybody out there as a quarterback, that's how you win football games, and that's what EJ's been today in this football game.
Luke, and he bounces out of a tackle. And that has been said a little too much today from the Oregon State side, and Rayshon Luke strong to break through the attempted stop of Nico Taylor, and he winds up getting to the 7.
You know, when you see teams kind of start to take on the identity of your head coach, and Matt Entz, his time in North Dakota State, those teams look like this. They look really physical up front. They had a strong quarterback in how he managed the game, not necessarily all with his arm, and great running of the football. And that's exactly what this team has been offensively today.
Luke, and that time they get him. That's Foster. Dexter Foster clipped him. Got both ankles and drops Luke for a loss.
What a huge play. He comes off the edge unblocked. And just as Luke hesitates at the point of attack and tries to explode to the left, Foster, to your point, just trips him up enough in the backfield to set up a long third down. Now EJ, what he needs to do here is try to get the ball in the end zone if they have a play call on for a pass, but no mistakes here. More points are plentiful. That takes it to a 5-point lead. That means Oregon State would have to score a touchdown.
Throw into the corner. It's going to be way out of bounds. So no shot there for Jan Farrar, the Fresno State target. And that, boy, give Oregon State defense credit, because they dealt a terrible hand there and at least going to force a kick.
Yeah, great job on their part to get a stop. I thought EJ made the right choice there, going to the one-on-one option down at the bottom, but the pressure was too much for him to get an accurate ball. Made sure there was no chance that it was 50-50, and now they get an opportunity to get points here on this drive.
28 yards for Dylan Lynch. And he drills it through, so Fresno State now with a 5-point lead at 9:06 remaining. You think about Fresno State football and what Matt Entz walked into, and I think everybody in this part of the country understands the passion for Fresno State sports, again, in the Central Valley of California. The history of Fresno State football, which we told you goes back to the 2001 to 2002 with David Carr, and great coaching of, in past years, Jim Sweeney,
Pat
Hill, and in more recent, just think about the most recent years. There's Pat Hill, who's now works on the Fresno State radio broadcast, standing up here, and think back, old Bulldog days in the PCAA. Remember that with Henry Ellard, who went on to play well in the NFL, as did Logan Mankins with some rings. Coach Hill. And then brothers, David Carr, #1 overall pick in the NFL, and Derek Carr, who had a magnificent connection in his years at Fresno State with Davante Adams. And that's
pretty good lineage of players. Trent Dilfer was
exactly right.
Super Bowl champion and first-round draft pick, was a quarterback in the 90s there.
Nice reversal there by Wells. And then more recently, Jake Haener, the coaching of Kalen DeBoer, and by Jeff Tedford in his wonderful period there. News Nation Wednesday is a primetime event. Bill O'Reilly uncovers disturbing parallels between history's most ruthless leaders and today's global threats. Bill O'Reilly confronting evil Wednesday at 10, 9 Central on News Nation. To find it, go to newsnationnow.com.
You'd think they might have like the special teams players in confronting evil this week. It's been just a horrible day if you were a special teams coordinator, having to deal with the things that they've had to deal with.
Yeah. Oregon State has 100 more total yards in this game on offense. 100 more. And
they've run almost double the amount of plays.
Their defense has been sturdy. You know, they've not stopped the run as well as they would like, but a lot of Fresno State's points have been gifts, direct gifts.
I mean, this team for Fresno State ran for 350 plus yards a week ago on the ground. So much improved.
Yeah. And now Oregon State, remarkably, despite all of their self-inflicted damage, still has a shot in this game with just under 9 to play. They've got to get out of this hole caused by their 10th penalty of the game.
What we'd love to see, if you're a Beavers fan out there, is one of these long, soul-sucking drives that doesn't allow Fresno to have a chance to get the ball again and ends up in the end zone for a victory for this Oregon State team. But they're going to have to execute and not be backed up second and long.
Murphy taking a shot. There's the big hit. The first one in the pass game for Oregon State. Murphy to Taz Reddix for 36.
It's just an example of the cornerback getting his eyes in the backfield, looking at that running back in the run pass option, and a great throw to get it inside right before the safety gets over the top. Great execution, good play by Murphy to Taz.
The ball to midfield after the biggest offensive play for Oregon State today. Murphy keeping Hankerson into block, taking another shot. This is for Zach Card, and that's a flag. Zach Card has not played a lot, but that's somebody Trent Bray talked to us about. If they're going to establish the deep ball, he's one of their best targets.
Yeah, I don't know if this was the right choice by Murphy, especially with a situation, but he got lucky and was able to get an interference call down the
Pass
field.
interference, defense, number 28, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Yeah, that ball wasn't going to be catchable, I don't think. Both hand fighting pretty good here, but what ultimately gets it is that right hand and the left hand grabbing his other hand. Almost
right there, kind of push in the chest.
Yeah.
Jamarian Briggs. Well, Oregon State has pushed themselves out of the hole. Now they're in Fresno State territory, but again, hovering over everything for Oregon State, and they have to score first. But is the problem snapping? And certainly would be no question if they score a touchdown, they would go for 2. Well, but if they don't, can they try a field goal with enough time?
Right. Well, I don't. I think that's out of the question. I don't think they're going to attempt a field goal. What I do, if you're an Oregon State fan, you got to love. You know, if you get in the end zone, you take the lead regardless of whether it's going to be a snap ball.
And the math would dictate to go for 2 if you score a touchdown.
Exactly.
Inside there, nicely done by Oregon State. And Card, let's see where they mark this. It's right near, actually going to be a half-yard short of the first down with Finn Claypool on the Fresno State tackle. So it's 3rd down and a yard.
This is a great play call by Ryan Gunderson. It's a little misdirect. They've gone to the open side of the field, and this time they come back to the kind of screen to Card. I don't know, that ball placement. Nigel, your thoughts?
Yeah, that should have been out the gate. If number 64 turns around and has a peel block, he's out the gate.
Hankerson, first down, more. Hankerson inside the 15. Marked at the 12 for Oregon State.
You know, just like a week ago when Washington State was in a difficult time, they're hurrying up here, Ted.
Yep, going quick. And Murphy to Hankerson again, this time Fresno State. Well done on their defensive front. No breathing room for Hankerson.
So back to my point of a week ago, when push came to shove, the game's 10-10, and Washington State needed to have a drive, a meaningful one that would get them over the top. They got it done. this is a great example of that for Oregon State. You know, been in a dogfight all game long, backed up after the penalty, and Malik Murphy and this team have really put together a great drive here to try to put them in a position to win the ball game.
Saladin Allah now the running back. Hankerson off after 24 carries. Murphy, nope, high. Tight end Caulfield was pretty much blanketed in the coverage. Tim Thomas, linebacker, doing that for Fresno State. But at this point, would you say definitively 4 downs for Oregon State?
Yeah, I don't think for a second, because of the fact that they would have to rely on a field goal to probably win the game later, that this is if you're Ryan Gunderson,
and you're getting down to 5 minutes here, under 5.
Yeah, Trent Brace told him that he has 2 plays to get 10 yards.
Empty backfield. Reddick's motions. Walker slot to the bottom. And Murphy can't get away. Another blitz dialed up by Fresno State. Free runner is Jazon Jacks. And that will have to change Oregon State's decision.
They bring 6, and then they bail the end on the other side, and it just fooled Malik Murphy because he was thinking the free rusher was going to be coming from his other side, and instead they fool the offensive line and make the big sack to knock them back.
So on 4th and 20, now the field goal attempt will come from 40 yards for Ojeda. Can the snap be clean? Put down, and the kick is not going to make it.
It all started from the snap,
but
though.
That's, and you know, called up Nick Benedetto, the new defensive coordinator of Fresno State. Dials it up, and it pays off big time for the Bulldogs. Fresno State leading by 5 in the 4th quarter, and let's now take a look at our progressive player of the game. With a Fresno State run game today, the explosive part of that has been Rayshon Luke.
Oh, he's been special. Speedy has been exactly that. He's been physical, though, too. Really opportunistic. Watch this cut here. He switches arms, gets the ball to the outside so he doesn't present a problem for fumble. And then the big touchdown was just so good in the hole. And then watch him explode as he gets by the safety, and there's no one catching Speedy as he gets to the end zone. He has been the player of the game for the Bulldogs.
Progressive, get coverage you can count on with home and auto at progressive.com. All right, Fresno State with a 1st down, just going to run the ball. And let's take a look now at this field goal. And again, the snap. And Nigel, you have a great view from the sideline. What do you see on this?
Yeah, I mean, look, the snap was not great, but I thought A.J. Winter, the punter, actually did a great job of getting it down. It just broke the concentration of the kicker. You practice these situations. You practice bad snaps and just have these situations. You practice bad snaps and just have faith. I just think the whole operation has been so shoddy today that you kind of got the yips.
Yep.
You know what those feel like, right?
No, Nigel never feels
Only on
that.
the golf course. But somehow I've managed to beat Ryan every time we play. I don't even know how
you
it
get
happens.
18 strokes.
Well, Fresno now trying to finish here. They can run the ball as they have for much of this game, and as they did last week in Fresno to beat Georgia Southern, they can choke out the rest of this game.
And I suspect that that's what they're exactly going to do, Ted. They're going to run the football and make Oregon State get a stop. And when you pick up 7 yards on 7-8 yards on 1st down, 2nd down, that makes it really difficult. And this puts the ball directly in the game manager's hands, and E.J. Warner. And he's a perfect guy positioned to make the right play in this situation.
Well, Matt Entz, again, we mentioned earlier his motto with his team, toughness wins, and that's what they're 3 minutes away from exhibiting again today. I would say, even though there has been some running, 170 rush yards by Fresno State, that Oregon State defense has acquitted themselves in some of these tough situations.
Yeah, that third down right there was a huge stop for this Oregon State team, because now they're going to get the ball back right around the 2-minute warning, 2-minute timeout.
Jacob Schuster was the man, big man on that front that made the hit for the Beavers on Brandon Ramirez, and now Fresno State brings out the punt team. Should snap the ball down, and by the time the punt's over, close to 2 minutes. And Trent Walker, fair catch as well. Oregon State, after everything that has happened today, most of which they've done to themselves. And look what Trent Bray's saying. He's saying, remarkably, we still have a chance.
And listen, if you're Trent Bray and you're talking to Ryan Gunderson and saying, we're not, it doesn't matter. You have 4 downs every single time the rest of the way through. We cannot settle for anything less than a touchdown and a win here. Otherwise, with what the schedule looks like ahead for them, they travel to Texas Tech next week, then to Oregon, and then have Houston on a Friday night before their long trip to North Carolina against Appalachian State. So this is imperative that they find a way to win the football game.
Hankerson, the running back, flexes out to the top. Fresno State brings another blitzer in. Murphy beats it with the quick throw to Reddix. And that'll get us to the 2-minute timeout. Well, stay with us for the final 2 minutes of the game. And it's presented by the Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card. As we head to the final 2 minutes, here's our snapback replay presented by the Active Cash Credit Card from Wells Fargo.
Yeah, it's been all about Blake Murphy, as he's done it from the pocket, and he's done it outside with the play action. Great touchdown passes to both his wide receivers, and then a little touch one over the top to his fullback for his 3rd touchdown pass of the football game. That's exactly what this Oregon State Beavers team is going to need from their star quarterback here on the final drive.
Brought to you by the Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card. Be a 2%er. Earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases. Terms apply. Screen misfired.
That was a great play call. They had it all set up. Malik was just not patient enough, and Hankerson kind of got himself tangled up with his blocker. That would have been one of those ones that Nigel talked about out the gate if the ball was going to be able to be completed. Execution in a timely manner, again, falls short.
So, 3rd down. And to the point we made earlier, Ryan, this is the 17th 3rd down play for Oregon State. And, of course, this is going to be 2 plays if they need it. Quick throw, caught by Walker, and the Beavers keep the drive going.
Boy, Trent Sauce Walker really has he's become Malik Murphy's safety blanket in those situations. He was going only to him and put it perfectly in his arms.
6th catch for Walker. Reddix goes off his hands. Reddix has caught 10 today. Taz Reddix had, coming into the game, 18 career catches, 10 today.
So almost got to where he was on his career. This drive here, if they were able to execute, would put them up near 490 yards of total offense on the day. It's not been their lack of execution and playmaking. It's just really been that 3rd part of the tripod.
It's been one position.
Yep.
The one you never think about in this game until it goes awry. There's a man open, and Oregon State is in Fresno State territory. And Trent Walker, who grew up coming to games here, stayed here through 3 years after walking on, waiting for a shot, and then after last year could have left and stayed for a 5th year. The kind of player that really personifies Oregon State football. Look at this. This may go. It is a touchdown, Oregon State. David Wells.
I don't know if this was a guy that was in his initial progression, but Malik Murphy does a tremendous job of finding him, and he gets it to him on the run and allows that speed just to overtake the Fresno State Bulldogs and get into the end zone for the possible game-winning score. Wonderful job by Ryan Gunderson calling up that play.
And now there is no doubt that the call is to go for 2.
This is big because, of course, if they are able to get it, it'll be a 3-point game. But if not, that allows Fresno State to put themselves in a position to win it with a field goal.
And Trent Bray calls the timeout.
Timeout, Oregon State, their first of the half.
Just a shallow underneath, and as Malik Murphy gets pushed out by the defender, it allows him to stay even with his receiver, and he puts it perfectly on David Wells Jr., who uses his speed and gets into the end zone.
Only the second touchdown of Wells' career. And you can see Matt Entz is likely thinking it's not over, but how are we behind? And the answer largely is 485 yards. And look, Ryan, we said at the beginning of the game, all eyes in Corvallis today were on number 6.
Yep.
Number 6 has answered.
He has answered. He was coached hard this week. Let's make that very clear. Coaches got after him, and sometimes that's difficult to do when in a world where you have to constantly be recruiting your players because you, in the world of the transfer portal and NIL, but he took the coaching this week. He knew what he had to do to get better, and I think he's been as spot on as anybody in this football game.
So the 2-point play coming. Complete. So Oregon State has scored 4 touchdowns in this game and 0 for 4 on conversions.
As good as the design play call was on the touchdown, I would argue this was maybe one of the, or executed as well. I mean, it was a ton of people that were pushed around. Now on the touchdown, you know, the movement by Malik Murphy to that side allow him to find David Wells a little more clearer, and then the speed just overtakes. And now they have the lead, and the defense, which has been outstanding, I feel like, in the second half here, has to make one final stop.
And it's going to be, look at that, just 49 seconds. And the very thing Oregon State hadn't had offensively today, about the only thing they hadn't had was explosive plays. They had them.
Yeah, they came on that drive, and 3 of them in particular, and they all allowed for this team to take the lead and give them some positivity.
So let's start right here at the kickoff. Again, Oregon State would be, I'm sure, thinking we're not kicking to Rayshawn Luke.
Or at least that's what that kicker should have been told before he stepped onto the football field.
And again, it's a little chip shot opposite from Rayshawn Luke's side, but it's going to give Fresno State respectable drive start, fielded by Jordan Malaulu, and he runs it back across the 30-yard line. Well, coming next on CW Sports Saturday, next NASCAR Xfinity Series will speed into St. Louis and then up to Pullman for San Diego State and Washington State. CW Sports Saturday will continue next, only on the CW. So here we go with 1:13. Fresno State has their timeouts. E.J. Warner, we'll see how much throwing is going to be here. Does he run? Yes. And he's going to be, is that a first down? Yes, they're going to give him the marker. Ball out. Play was blown dead.
Great job by E.J. of stepping up in the pocket, knowing what time is on the clock, and picking up the first down with his legs.
That ground can't cause a fumble, so here we go with Fresno State. Warner throwing right away, and he's got Evite. And so 2 plays, and it started again with the kicking away from the Rayshawn Luke effect. Kicking it away gave Fresno State a good drive start.
Yeah, but Malulu is such a great returner too, especially in punt returns. It's like pick your poison in that instance. And you know, game management is something that is, as a former quarterback, to watch it kind of all unravel. E.J. Warner is just licking his chops for this opportunity, and he did exactly what he needed to on that first down. Just get something positive, and they'll let something happens next.
Fresno State does not need much more yardage to be in field goal territory. They're going to get there on this. And they are now in the range of Dylan Lynch.
Wonderful job by the senior quarterback, understanding. Nigel, this is the second time we've seen him use his legs when they've been in man coverage.
And it's the second time that you've seen the absolute lack of rush lane integrity by the defensive line. The left defensive end had no business being over the center, and that's how E.J. Warner got out.
We saw this last night between the Chiefs and the Chargers. Same thing, exactly. Takari Hickel goes inside, E.J. Warner outside.
Swing it out to Luke. He'll get almost nothing, but gets to the sideline, although Fresno State has 3 timeouts, so needing the sideline, not a big deal. Dylan Lynch, the veteran place kicker for Fresno State, has a career long of 52.
Yeah, he's got plenty of leg. He's been perfect so far in this game, and I haven't seen in any instance where the moment's too big for that young kicker.
Second down. And to the sideline and caught. Quick throw to Avit. Just a couple of yards closer.
You know, I'm gonna hand some more flowers out here too, and it shouldn't be that big of a surprise. But the fundamentals of E.J. Warner, like
yes,
for being an undersized kid, right? The ability to get over the top when he throws and to make sure that his receiver is getting a catchable ball it's been fun to watch today from the young quarterback now on his 3rd stop here in college football.
Just one turnover today by Fresno State, a first half interception. And now they're again within the range of their field goal kicker. And another quick, smart throw to Avit. And that'll force the field goal to come here. So 33 seconds, so not running the clock all the way down to the last for the kick, but this will be it, certainly for Fresno State. It's going to wind up being 43, 42 to 43.
And it will be on the left hash, so
for a left footer.
Yeah, that's always, you protect against the hook there. In terms of,
I never had a draw, so I don't know what that's like. But
you don't like it, okay? When you don't want to overdo something, and this feels more like a lined up where you can play just a slight little high draw right through the middle of the uprights. It'll be a heck of a game-winning drive for E.J. Warner, who remarkably this season still has not yet thrown a touchdown pass.
Dylan Lynch has kicked 34 and 28 today. He's made 47 field goals in his Fresno State career, 47 out of 62. Excellent history. And this is 43 for the lead. Nick Verdugo is the holder. And Lynch drills it. Just enough draw.
Yeah, it was good from the start. Ice in those veins right there. Kickers are an interesting lot, but when they're in some pressure situations, this was perfectly executed. Started on the left upright and just drew right through the uprights for the what looks like the game-winning field goal.
Look at Matt. Is that a football guy? I'm not looking at the kick.
Yeah, I have like zero faith in kickers, and Matt Entz is probably thinking the same thing.
And again, this will be one of those games that if you haven't seen, it's going to be very hard to explain. As Trent Bray watching with his heart, but the fact that it comes down to a field goal with 29 seconds to go after what's happened the first 59.5 minutes will be very difficult to explain.
It is, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you take a snapshot of this as you look at the statistics up and down. 369 passing yards for Oregon State versus 121 for Fresno. The biggest things that are going to explain this game are the penalties. 10 penalties for for Oregon State. And the other side of that is what the special teams unit has looked like. It's looked like an absolute mishmash.
3 snaps by Oregon State that were unable to be punted. One of them, the punter trying to kick the ball, which Fresno State ran for a touchdown. No conversions on 4 touchdowns by Oregon State. Right, that line drive along the ground picked up by Walker. So Oregon State will start from the 20-yard line, and the normal football mindset is you just hopefully you can get a couple of bombs here and get into field goal range, but that is sure as heck it's probably the only hope they have, but it's very dicey.
It's very dicey because they can't get the snap back, you know. And
by the way, Brad, look at the total play number. 79 plays run by Oregon State to 46 for Fresno State.
Yeah,
these are things that are hard to explain the score.
The difference is that Fresno State executed when they needed to in the most decisive moments of the football game.
And Murphy finds a shot over the middle. Reddick's unable to hang on.
You know, Malik
coverage by Harris.
It's been impressive to see him when he gets relocated outside the pocket, of how quickly he sets his feet and fires it. That was a perfectly thrown pass that was just knocked away and dropped at the end.
Let's I think to summarize this for Oregon State with 21 seconds to go, again heading into their next game, this is answering the offensive concerns coming out of last week.
It is. You're exactly right, but I would counter that too on the other side with Fresno State answering all the concerns after that beat down against Kansas in week 1.
Absolutely, and Reddick hangs on and takes a big hit. So Oregon State's, let's see, they're going to scramble up here while the clock stops for the chain reset. 15 seconds. And there's a pick 6, and Fresno State will take it to the house and head home to Fresno with a win.
Just a miscommunication on the perimeter with his wide receiver.
Jakari Embry.
You're a Fresno State fan. It's been exceptional how they've come in here to Research Stadium and taken the gifts that were given, but also when they needed to, especially on the offensive side of the football, did their part. Just a miscommunication here between the wide receiver and the quarterback. He thought he was going to be running a little bit deeper of an out, and Jakari Embry just eyes to the inside, sees what the quarterback's doing, and Johnny on the spot to take it to the house.
And so Fresno State, again, a rivalry that begins. And next year, they share the same conference. And Fresno State football, which has been in a good place, looks like it's going to continue there in this first year of Matt Entz.
Yeah, it's inexplicable there why those two weren't on the same page for having such a great game that Malik Murphy had. It's shameful that it ends on a pick 6. But again, this is going to be another week that's going to be difficult to stomach if you're a Beavs fan, if you're a Beavs player. And these coaches are going to have to go back to work because they cannot allow this to continue to happen.
6, I mean, and look, the long snappers, the obvious massive question that will have to be answered by next week for Oregon State, and the 6 pre-snap penalties are the other on the offensive line. And it will not be, which won't be fun. And for Fresno State,
it will be fun.
Yeah, establish
2 weeks in a row where they've really played well down the stretch of those games, and to bounce back after that Kansas loss. They're physical, fundamentally sound football team that finds ways to win, and that lines up identically with what Matt Entz has done his entire career as a head coach.
And the kick picked up, and that will clock stopped with 1 second, so Oregon State will have to snap a ball. And that's part of the Fresno State story that's always been impressive. This is
the grit.
School, again, the great pride of the Valley, and they have wonderful support. We started to talk about Kalen DeBoer's brief tenure there that was so successful. Jeff Tedford, just an excellent coach, coming back for a second stint, keeping it going, then had to step away with his health last year. They had an interim season last year, but now finding a coach with championship pedigree.
Yeah, last year with an interim coach, with all the change, they still went 6-6 before the bowl game. And, you know, Matt Ants saw an opportunity. He thinks there's a real opportunity here for this football program. Otherwise, he doesn't take that coaching job. And to know that they are going to be entering the new Pac-12 conference a year from now does a lot for them in the recruiting space.
Just a little play here to end the game and a stat run.
Takes him over 500 yards of total offense, too.
And Fresno State celebrates as they should. They come to Corvallis and they were in trouble, but E.J. Warner engineered a final minute drive to set up the field goal that swung things, and then a pick six was the cement. And Fresno State, after that season opening loss in Kansas, has now won 2 in a row. Well, thanks to our entire team. Remember, the CW Sports Saturday continues next with the NASCAR Xfinity Series in St. Louis. And then tonight, San Diego State at Washington State. For our entire team, our producer Jason Arminio, director Scott Barkey, for Ryan Leaf, Nigel Burton, and everyone here in Corvallis, I'm Ted Robinson. Thanks for joining us. And it's NASCAR from St. Louis next.